morning, good morning. How you guys doing today? Nice to have you. We got our first major snowfall today. Major. It's been coming down all night. I think there's several inches on the floor from what I can see. Everything is white outside. It's crazy. Beautiful. Well, it's that time of the year. Welcome, guys. It is Wednesday morning, November 27th. Nice to have you guys with me. Going to take a look at the markets again like we always do. We're going to take a look at, we'll look at the indexes, we'll look at gold, we'll look at silver, and we'll see what they are doing. We'll also take a look at USDCAD because, as you know, we got that big spike up that we talked about yesterday, and very good chance that price is going to continue downwards because, you know, like I was saying, we've looked at the retail positions. They are massively short. They're going to start to switch to long soon. We also looked at the bank's positions, and the bank's positions are showing that they still need to take profits on their longs. So I think everything is still in play when it comes to the USDCAD, and you know, that big push up to the upside, that was what we call an emotional wick, and we'll take a look at that real quick before we end the today's show. But you know, this is what happens. There's a big spike up because of some emotional event. The banks bring price back down to where it was, and then they continue on as if nothing ever happened. So we'll look at that as well. All right. So again, welcome. Nice to have you guys. Let's take a look at what we got here. So Wall Street Journal, I'll be reviewing that some more later today. So let's take a look at what we got. I got the chart of gold that's up right now. And as you can see, we're dropping from this area of supply. We were talking about this yesterday, okay? Price retraced all the way down. Where did it stop? It stopped down here on a 4-hour area of demand. Right here. Okay, came down to the 4-hour area of demand, and now it's rallying back up. Me personally, I don't want to touch gold because we got a situation where monthly demand might be in play, which pushed price up, and then we got it reacting to the downside from this weekly supply area. So I don't know 100% if that monthly demand zone is in play, because we talked about this before. There's other data feeds that show that area is probably in play. On this IDC data feed, which is the most reliable I found for gold, on my chart, it has not yet contacted monthly demand. So I'd much prefer to stay out of gold right now because we could potentially be stuck in a range here between that just above the 25 area and the 27 area. So I'm going to let this do what it wants to do, and when it's a clearer picture of what is taking place, then I'll make a move. Other than that, we got silver, and we have supply here in play. This is on the 4-hour chart. So So the dynamic that we have here on silver is an interesting one. We have this weak uptrend here on the weekly chart, okay? This one right here. And there, if you look to the left, there is no demand zone that we've contacted. Now remember, this drop in price, this pressure to the downside on silver was because of the sell-off in gold, all right? So now we're coming and hitting this ascending trend line. Typically, banks don't push price up off of trend lines unless they have a buying area there. And they don't have any buying area here. The buying area is down here. So as you can see, if price does get to this buying area, this trend line will be broken, meaning this potential uptrend, this weak uptrend would have turned into something stronger, but it's a weak uptrend based on the formation and how we analyze the charts. We could tell that this is a weak uptrend. So I'm not too keen on basing any type of long trade on silver from this type of chart. In fact, this is telling me if this trend line doesn't hold, we should be expecting more weakness on silver. Okay, so if we take a look at the 4-hour chart, this area of supply was formed right before that test of that trend line. So there's the trend line on the higher time frame. So short-term selling was taking place on silver, which caused price to get down to that trend line. So for me, it comes to one of two things. It's either that this supply is going to hold and it's going to drive price downwards, which will break the ascending trend line. And then that will open up for a move lower, or this zone is going to break and price is going to break through, the trend line is going to hold, and silver is going to go higher up on the charts, okay? So this is what I'm watching for on the 4-hour chart. We're looking to see short term if there's going to be buying or selling, okay? We know over the very long term there's buying taking place, but within the larger time frame buying, you know, short-term selling, medium-term selling come into play. If you don't know when that is happening, you can't time your trades. Now we know long-term buying is coming into play on silver because we have institutional demand on the higher time frames that are coming into play, which is pushing price up over the very long term. But medium term, you could see selling took place on the charts here. Okay, this is a sell zone right here that came into play. So this is the daily time frame. So for momentum to shift back to medium term momentum to the upside, these areas would need to be removed first, okay? Because we need to see that the banks would be coming back in with more renewed buying. And so far we haven't been seeing that, okay? So that's my take on silver. Nat gas is one that I wanted to look at. We had a trade signal on nat gas a while back. It was a wonderful signal. The long signal was here. And then we had first target here and second target, okay? People say you can't time the markets. These targets were there way before price even got there, okay? Way before price got there. So the reason why we chose this target up here as the second target was because when we did the analysis on the charts, we determined that's likely where the institutions are going to take profits on their long positions. And as you can see, there was a big decline in price. Why? Because institutions were taking profits on their long positions. So that worked out extremely well. Extremely well. So price rallied up and came back down to the area of demand down here, and now it's rallying back up again. So here's the thing. That area that we were watching for our second target, yeah, this was the trade here. You can see it clearly on the 4-hour chart. Okay, here is the trade signal. The buy in that zone, first target here, and second target reached here. Okay, so as I was mentioning, the reason why we chose that secondary target was because we determined that that was going to be the area where the banks were going to take profits on their long positions, which they did. And so now we're back up at that area. So the question is, are they going to use that area to take profits on long positions again? There's a possibility, but there's also a possibility that we're going to see price continue to the upside. So we're watching this one. We're looking at the structures. We're going to be waiting for pullbacks. And if we see a break of those supply areas on the higher time frame, we're going to be looking to enter into this one long again. Okay, so watch for that on nat gas. The S&P, things are looking pretty good here. All right, price came down into our magic zone, which is the area that we suspect is going to be where the institutions are going to buy. And as you can see, price dropped into it and institutions bought, just as we had forecasted. So we have an uptrend on the daily chart with demand in play. So we have the short-term buying that's taking place. We recently had long-term buying that came into play and medium-term buying. So we have long-term, medium-term, short-term buying. So everything is looking good for a continued move to the upside. What we're going to be watching for now is a big, strong push to the upside to produce new areas of demand on the higher time frames. Because if new areas of demand are not formed on the higher time frames, then this momentum to the upside could be very short-lived, okay? For instance, looking at the daily chart, yes, we have an upward trend right now, but if price comes down to that trend line and breaks it, then this just opens up the floodgate for a continued move lower, all right? So what we want to see is strong momentum build from where we are right now, which would be indicating to us that on the higher time frames, there's serious buying taking place, okay? So we're going to be watching for that and seeing if that comes into play. All the major indexes are showing good signs. The only difference between the NASDAQ and the S&P is that the NASDAQ has demand down here. It's almost like silver, okay? The situation with silver. We have price reacting from an ascending trend line, but we don't have institutional demand that is coming into play, all right? So that is a little bit worrisome because that means this structure to the upside is of lower quality. Also, when we are looking at the weekly chart, you'll remember that I was indicating to you how price was stuck in a range right here. We had supply above, demand below. Well, we had the breakout of that supply, but price immediately returned back down, which tells us this area is not very strong for buying, according to the institutions buying and selling. If it was a strong area here, it would be a demand zone, but it's not a demand zone. This was significant buying to break through that supply, but then the fact that price reversed right back down means this area is not a sustainable area. So we look at the weekly chart, it doesn't look very sustainable. We look at the daily chart, it doesn't look very sustainable. So NASDAQ is a little iffy right now. What I'd like to see is new buying coming into place. And so far, we're not seeing that. So I'm going to be watching that closely to see if the institutions are going to come in and start buying aggressively. If they start buying aggressively, then we'll see the upside pressure come into play, and then we'll have new areas of demand to base our analysis off of, okay? Short-term buying is taking place, and it's looking pretty good. As you can see, the latest area of supply that was removed was here, which created a demand zone, and that could easily push price up. If it breaks this area of demand, then expect price to drop. And if it drops, remember that ascending trend line on the daily chart, that will break through and that will allow for a deeper move lower, okay, on the charts. So watch for that because, you know, these upward structures aren't the greatest on NASDAQ, okay? And this could bring in a lot of weakness on the NASDAQ. Last but not least, we'll take a look at the Dow. Dow's looking pretty good. Upward trends on the monthly, upward trends on the weekly, upward trends on the daily. Everything is looking very good. It's like the S&P. We just need new buying to come into place to solidify this move to the upside. If it doesn't happen, then this can start seeing weakness and we can see a push to the downside. But so far it's looking pretty good. The move up on the monthly chart, that bullish engulf, that's a good sign that we may get the continued move higher. All right. Okay. That's it. I'll let you go and you take care. Thanks very much for joining me again this morning. And follow us on our Telegram channel and on our Twitter if you want to get more analysis from us. And you can reach us at www.whiteoakfx.com. Thanks very much, guys. You take care.